Hello, Christopher.
Hi, Agata.
Let's talk about the information for external providers. So, I would like to talk about all the necessary requirements which we need to pass down to our supply chain. I'm curious about your experiences.
Well, okay, in charge, when it comes to passing information, as I've previously touched upon on another video, we do that via the supply quality manual. So some of those requirements might be CPK numbers, if it's a safety characteristic component, or critical or functional safety, and so on. There's minimum CPK requirements on those type of components. Now, as we are not a high volume manufacturer in any means, that statistical capability may take a longer time to prove out because in development phases, you won't necessarily have 25 samples to do that measurement minimum or 30 samples. What you may do is you say to the supplier they need to 100% inspect for those features. So it all depends on the design failure mode effect analysis and process failure mode effect analysis. Depends on what the severity scores are. So we do have rules with that. Same for their suppliers. They need to cascade error requirements when they do their design reviews and process reviews and share those special characteristics and regulatory characteristics into the supply chain. It's also inverted. Suppliers who are design responsible need to tell the customer of any ECE regulations or SAE regulations, whatever market they are aware of for products. They need to tell the customer and capture that into the drawing. It could be anything in terms of substance use restrictions. So this is things like the material and if there's any toxic chemicals or components within the product itself. So it depends on the size of your company. In larger volume OEMs, if you're hopefully I'm correct in saying this, but I'm pretty sure I am. In larger volume manufacturing, you need to record and declare in something like IMDS. You would use an
Mhm.
IMDS. You tell them they use that database, and they will collate the data and say whether it complies or not. So you can get your homologation and certification for that. When you get to micro volume, we need to record the data, retain it. We don't necessarily have to send that to the governing bodies, but we need to retain the information if there is anything in the future where we need to declare it. So it depends on your volume of manufacturing. As I've worked in very high volume manufacturing, low and then micro volume, there are different regulatory requirements on the vehicle, especially when the vehicle has certain styling design icons. It's safety levels are different. Obviously, NCAP ratings, we do send a car for crash and so on. The ratings are different depending on the type of car it is and so on. So the suppliers need to cascade that. They also have to comply with all the laws and regulations of their country as well as other ones where applicable. So if you have a law in Romania versus the law in the UK, safety is imperative. So we need to source and nominate suppliers that need to have those mindsets, because if that supplier has a safety issue and their key operator or key processes stop because of a fatality or an issue there, that obviously has a knock on to us. Obviously it's a horrible incident and a problem, but it will have a knock on incident to the final disruption of the supply chain. So the communication is both ways. It's done through contracts, it's done through drawings, product design specifications, typically about what the part is intended to do, what's its function, what tests do you need to do from a DVP or design or validation, and so on. All of that is both ways. Communication is key between the supply chain from customer all the way down to the tier end suppliers.
Okay, so you said a very interesting thing about also the sharing the information not only top down but also down top when we are talking about the statutory and regulatory requirements, because this is the absolutely must and minimum to share according to IATF the information about the statutory and regulatory requirements and also special characteristics. Yes. However, what I wanted to tell you is that this information, the collaboration between the sides, between the supplier and the customer, might be very important, especially and visible and needed. For instance, when we are talking about the risk-based thinking, and I'm thinking here specifically about FMEA, yes, the severity of some risks, yes. This is also one of the example why the information given from the top to the supplier might be really important, because then we have the alignment between this risk analysis, yes. Okay, so of course we have to cascade all the informations required for the product and process for the manufacturing. Yes. However, let's remember that not only this is the core of this what suppliers shall know from us. As I mentioned, statutory regulatory requirements, special characteristics. Let's also remember about there are different statutory and regulatory requirements based on the region, yes,
Yes,
where
yes, it
the
is. Yeah.
car shall be used at the end. Okay, so thank you very much for this episode. Let's meet in another one. I would like to discuss with you about the very difficult topic from the perspective of the supplier, how to work with directed buy suppliers. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.